Oh, there goes Rob. All right, we got Rob here. Hold on 1 second. Adding him in just. Pete Alonso's a Met. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Again, someone pinch me. I must be dreaming. All right, let's get up here. Welcome, the man, the myth, the legend.
Uh-oh.
You there, Rob?
I think so. Hold on 1 second.
You there?
Uh-oh.
I think he froze. I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. There we
Yeah,
go. All right, there we go.
you're good.
All right.
What's up, man? How are we feeling? Pete's a Met.
I was sleeping. Oh man. Like I don't even know what's going on. I'm like, what are we getting? Like 10 years, $150 million? I don't know what's going on.
No, talk to me, man. How are we feeling? Just raw emotions, waking up from your slumber. Pete Alonso's a Met. You're in here now. What's going on?
Yeah, so what was it? 2 years, 54 million?
2 years, 54 million, opt out after the 2025 season. He did, according to John Heyman, have an option for a 3-year deal, but he chose the 2-year deal instead. So
Huh.
that kind of threw me in for a loop.
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what I don't even know. You know what it is? I just felt like he wanted to see. So was the 3-year deal a little bit more money or was it a little less money?
Dude, I don't know. We're doing this on the fly. Let me go ahead and check my Twitter timeline because there's so many details. Like all the details just start trickling in. And apparently Jericho Sims, the Wizards. Oh my goodness. The Knicks just made a trade too. All right, that's for a different stream. Let
What's going
Sorry
on?
about that, dude. There's so much going on, man. The Knicks are making a trade. Pete Alonso's a Met. Okay, so in the end, Alonso is choosing between 54 million for 2 years and 71 million for 3 years. He took the shorter deal, betting on himself with the higher first year pay. 30 million. So he's making 30 for the first year, according to that.
Well, all right. Listen, it's the Juan Soto and Pete Alonso offseason finally on February 5th. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. It is what it is at this point. You know, $30 million is a lot, but again, it's basically a 1-year deal. If he has a bad season, he won't opt out. The Mets are not obligated for 7 years, 5 years, even 3 years. So if he has a season like last year, he'll definitely, probably be a Met for 2026. And what is he going to get? Another 26, $27 million. So it's not crazy money. Again, we all wanted a short-term deal from Pete Alonso from all my fun times talking about him. And somebody in the chat, I don't know who said it, but they says, it wouldn't be the same if Rob wouldn't be, ragging on Pete Alonso. And, I get to do that again, just in case. But again, listen, this is a set lineup. And I know you just did I think you did a video earlier today in regards to the lineup, right? You did a
I just
lineup.
had it up here too before you joined. I just had it up here. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had Pete Alonso in there, and it looks better, right? It fits the lineup perfectly. And listen, it really doesn't matter what he got paid, how many years. It really didn't matter. We wanted it over with, but it makes the lineup better, right? When you look at the top four, how many top fours in baseball can you say is better, right? Every one of them is a 30 home run guy, at least. And that's where we are at this point. And I appreciate the fact that, because I mean, Andy Martino on SNY tonight, he basically said, nobody really knows if he's choosing the Mets or somebody else. He said that today, and that was what, 4 hours ago. So like, they kept it quiet once again. Clearly, Pete Alonso was leading the charge in this negotiation. I think he's going to fire Scott Boras at this point now. I think this was a bad job by Scott Boras. And at the end of the day, we got our homegrown guy. He's not going to be a career Met. We all know that. But right now, there's one more thing left to do. Get Dylan Cease, baby. That's all we need. That's all we need, Chris. That's all we need.
I was gonna say, because you've been on that train, and we're not gonna go down the path of pitching in this stream because this is dedicated to Pete Alonso. We're here to celebrate, the missing piece of this lineup. And you're absolutely 100% correct. Like, we knew at this point, given the lack of other options and the lack of other pivot points, Pete Alonso was that guy to get. They weren't in on Alex Bregman, and they haven't been for quite some time. We haven't been hearing anything about the Mets and Alex Bregman. Pete Alonso was always that guy. And as much as we were talking about, Yandy Diaz or Ryan Mountcastle as pivot options, we knew Pete Alonso was the guy to get. But now that Pete Alonso's on board, the last missing piece to what everyone and the discussions that we've been having on all of our streams is definitely, the starting pitcher, right? The frontline starter.
Yep.
And I think that this move right here with Pete Alonso makes Mets fans a little bit more comfortable. But the ones that are still a little bit hesitant, riding into the 2025 season, it's presumably because of that last pitcher that they think the Mets need. But at this point, you're right. How many lineups can you confidently say are better than the New York Mets right now? At least the top five, with a combination of Lindor, Vientos, Soto, Nemo, and Alonso. I mean, I can think of maybe two, right? The Dodgers, and maybe you could say the Braves, maybe. But it's right up there.
It is. It really is. And that's the other thing too. Like, I'm concerned about the rotation still, but again, when you set up the bullpen the way you set up the bullpen, and now the lineup is basically set up the way we probably all thought it was going to be, it's hard to say that, obviously when we rank our, the least worried part of the team to the most worried part of the team, the rotation is going to be at number one. But when you have a lineup and a bullpen that can win you ball games and basically counteract what the rotation might not give you, which is probably length for probably half the season until the deadline, unless they do get a starting pitcher in the rest of this offseason, a couple of days, a week before pitchers and catchers, I'm satisfied. Like I said, even with the Pete Alonso addition, right? It feels better at this point. I just hope that they still got something up their sleeves, because this is a win, right? The Mets are clearly over that luxury tax now. So there isn't no ifs or buts about it. They blew past it. $30 million this year for Pete Alonso. They blew past it. They're at 328, 329 at this point now. Guess what? You might as well keep going. You might as well finish what you started from the winter meetings with Juan Soto and continued with the Showmania signing, with the Winker signing, with a couple of bullpen additions, and now Pete Alonso. Finish the offseason prior to pitchers and catchers. Find a way to get Dylan Cease here. They can find a package, right? Everybody seems like they're shying away on packages to bring to the San Diego Padres. Give them something fair but aggressive, and finish the offseason and stamp that A+ of approval for the offseason. And then you go into the season, and now you basically have a team where most of us will probably feel confident that we have a really good chance of being real contenders for this season. And that's where we are right now. Pete Alonso is the next step in that process. But getting that pitcher, oh man, it's going to be fun. But man, look at that possible opening day lineup. Now, I know we always disagree on the lineup, but it looks sexy regardless of how we put it.
I was just gonna say, with you right here on this stream, I needed to put this up side by side next to us. Clearly, I talked about the 2024 numbers with Pete. We've talked about the clutch numbers or lack thereof, especially with runners in scoring position for 2024. We need that to go up. And I was also touching on the fact that this is this type of deal, right? Just to get you all the full synopsis of this deal. 2 years, opt out after the first, $54 million total. 30 million for the first year, 24 for the second year. But that's $27 million AAV pretty much, right? Um, he's going to go back out onto the market, right? If he succeeds and if he posts better numbers, even slightly to what he posted in 2024 on this screen, he is going back out there in hopes of getting a long-term deal at the age of 31. So I was just telling the viewers before you joined on, maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't, that, you know, if he has a good season, we could be talking about this Pete Alonso saga 2.0 next offseason yet again, right? And this dragging out yet again. But right now, this lineup is undeniable any which way. And I'm assuming that you still want Juan Soto in the 2-hole, right?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
more comfortable with Juan Soto being in the 3-hole because you get to see him in the first inning, you maximize his at bats, and you know he has an opportunity to be a run producer, right? At the 3-hole if Lindor and Vientos do their jobs, but I wouldn't complain if he's in a 2-hole. At that point, you're putting a little bit more pressure on year 2 of Mark Vientos, but I think if he showed even an inkling of what he did in year 1, then it would be successful, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the only reason why I say I like the Juan Soto in the 2-hole is just because he's most comfortable there, and I feel like Mark Vientos, I feel like he needs to be behind Pete Alonso just for protection purposes, because again, Pete Alonso isn't a protector. He needs people to protect him. It's clear throughout the 6 years with the Mets, he really never protect nobody in this lineup. He needs to be protected. And if this is going to benefit the Mets and Pete Alonso, look, the Mets want to have Pete Alonso have a great year. Pete Alonso wants to have a great year so he can opt out. But it's going to benefit both of them if he has a great year. And I think the problem is I don't trust Brandon Nimmo behind Pete Alonso. I just don't. I just don't. And that's the issue. That's the only issue. Not because I think Juan Soto should be in a 2-hole. I don't mind this lineup. I just feel like the whole reason why you get Juan Soto, the whole reason why you have Mark Vientos showing what he did last year, is to have one of these guys protecting Pete Alonso, because this is what I think the problem has always been with Pete Alonso. Met fans, and you see it in the comments already. Pete Alonso was supposed to protect everybody else in the lineup that's in front of him, right? When Lindor came to this team, where was he batting? He was batting third. Some points last year, Brandon Nimmo was batting third. Both of those guys weren't better in front of Pete Alonso because they weren't afraid to get to Pete Alonso. So they were working harder to get to Pete Alonso, and they didn't care what they did to Brandon Nimmo or what they did to, Francisco Lindor. They were aggressively pitching these guys because they didn't care about the protection with Pete Alonso. Now I feel like Pete Alonso can be in between Juan Soto and Vientos. And I think that because I don't think Juan Soto needs protection. Juan Soto can hit 30 home runs. He can bat 285. He can knock in 90 RBIs plus. He can do that by himself, right? How many times with the Nationals, he never had nobody around him, right? And, besides Rendon, and he was always, Rondon was like fourth or fifth in the lineup. He was still one or two. So he really didn't have that amazing protection in the lineup. And we know what Juan Soto can do. I think what it does, it puts Alonso protecting, like people are going to mess around trying to think that, okay, let's pitch around Juan Soto to get to Pete Alonso. But if Pete Alonso goes a little bit back to what he was so good at, which is being selective with his pitching, with what he's looking for at the plate, he doesn't have to aggressively approach the at-bat every single time like he felt like he did last year. Because, yeah, you want to play around and walk around Alonso? Great. I would love to have Soto and Alonso on first and second with one or two outs, and Vientos is coming up ready to hit a bomb. I feel like you can do so much more damage with that. when it comes to that lineup. But again, am I going to complain if this is the lineup going into opening day? No, of course not. Like I still see Juan Soto in one of the first couple at bats. I still think that I want Pete Alonso in that area of coming up first in the inning. I don't know why. I just feel like it feels like it's better. I think there's somebody needs to be protected in Pete Alonso, in my opinion, because you can't have Lindor, Vientos, and Soto all in front of Alonso and Brandon Nimmo's protecting him. I think we've been there, done that before, to be quite honest. Like, unless Francisco Alvarez, like, really shows something in spring training that his approach is different, because then if that's the case, I bat him fifth and Brandon Nimmo sixth, to be quite honest with you. I think, because I want somebody that has a threat of power and a threat of, doing some damage where a team might be afraid to pitch to that guy behind Pete Alonso.
Yeah. I think what we're getting from this all, before we close things out here, because I do have to get to bed. I was like you. I was literally on the verge of going to bed before this news drop. But what we're trying to tell you all here in this stream is that the Mets lineup at this point, now that Pete Alonso is officially back at the very minimum for 2025, is that there is immense flexibility for Carlos Mendoza to utilize. So again, so many different ways that we can go about this. We're going to be having this ongoing debate of what the opening day lineup could look like. But at the bare minimum, ladies and gentlemen, Pete Alonso is going to be a New York Met. A deep sigh of relief. We will see if the Mets pivot to another starter to end this offseason, but the Pete Alonso saga is done. Rob, final thoughts before we get out of here, and we are ending this stream on a high note. Hopefully everyone gets some rest too, because I know we need it as Mets fans.
Finally, it took all these months. It should have ended a lot earlier, but it finally happened. The Mets got them basically on the deal. They basically kind of wanted them to. I think the money was still, they're basically saving money, because if it was 3 for $75, they basically saved money in this contract. And on top of that, look, something was going on, because my phone was blowing up, and I don't know what the hell was going on. I thought it was an emergency, and I just happened to look at my phone, and I see your message. I see everybody texting me, and it's like, all right. But good news, guys. We got our lineup. We got our bullpen. I think there's one missing piece, and that's a rotation piece, and it might be Dylan Cease. But I'm happy we got Pete Alonso back. He's a big addition to this lineup, and we're just gonna keep on going. And there ain't that many hot stoves left before the season starts, so I'm ready to go. And you should say that Nick trade really quick.
Yeah, that Knicks trade is crazy. I think they just acquired Chris Middleton and Kyle Kuzma
It was
from
Middleton.
the
Wow.
yeah. Or was it Kyle Kuzma too, or no? It was definitely Middleton. Let's see here. What do we have
It was
here?
Kuzma and Middleton.
Oh, it was
Jeez.
both.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I like that trade a lot for the Knicks. Anyways, a great time to be a New York sports fan. If you're a Knicks and a Mets fan, we are ending this stream on a high note. Those are Rob's final thoughts. My final thoughts are LFGM. The polar bear is back. Enter the giveaway. Go check out the newest content on both of our channels. We will be live with you all at some point this week together again on the Mets Hot Stove. This was an impromptu live stream thanks to a Jeff Passan bomb. 2 years, $54 million. Pete Alonso is a New York Met. Salute to the chat. Appreciate you all being here with us. Until next time, everyone, let's go Mets.
Let's
Peace.
go Mets.